Hello everyone, JesterGio here. Welcome to a sub-series 1 I'm making off Brewing Thoughts called First Look. I originally wrote a whole section of this video, however of course I forget to save the project and all my progress got lost. This is why I cannot have nice things. Anyways, today's video is gonna be on a few topics from the test server, though I'm mainly gonna be focusing on the new Hunter, Ivy, and Wormhole. I originally talked about Insolence in my last script, talking about how much the real Insolence buff is disappointing compared to the rumored buff. However, after thinking about it a lot more, I think the buff is overall fine. Since you're guaranteed 1000 presents, you'll almost be put at max presents once you've gotten 2 hits on a survivor. This makes Insolence really good against teams who try to sell, lower-end hunters, and hunters who can take advantage of Insolence. While I would prefer the rumored version, the real buff has grown on me. At the end of the day, we'll have to see it for ourselves. With that covered, we can now get onto the main attractions, Ivy and the new trait. Since we've already covered it, I think we should talk about Wormhole first, or teleport as Neddy's cleverly calls it. There's been a lot of discourse over Wormhole and how good it is, surprise surprise. First, let me address the elephant in the room. Yes, I did watch the Geisha gaming video and I saw all the ways Wormhole can be used against you. It's a very good video that will help players when facing off against it and I do recommend you checking it out, links in the description. However, I do think people are very quick to disregard Wormhole because of this video as well as other opinions people have, which I will talk about later. Yes, there are certain characters in this game who have the ability to screw you over with Wormhole. However, that is considering you are prepared for Wormhole to come out and you have a straight shot. Geisha Gaming's video shows these counters off amazingly, but these showcases were all in controlled environments to show them off. There is no guarantee that you will have a straight shot to knock the hunter back using batter or tackle them back with forward. Not only that, but the 3-second cooldown makes it a risk for certain characters to just run into the portal, especially if the hunter just summoned it. You can also use it to phase through walls if you placed it against a wall, so that can also counter trying to use your abilities to counter it. There are just so many factors to take into account that I just can't see most players being able to properly counter Wormhole. It also doesn't help that it might not even be chosen in your matches. Players might still bring Blink or Teleport after its release, so it's not viable to be constantly expecting it. Not saying the video isn't good knowledge on how to deal with it, it's just I feel there's more to the picture than what it seems. Now that we got that covered, let's go over the comments against Wormhole I've been seeing. So more of Wormhole got revealed and we can see it has a noise notification and shows itself on the map just like BQ's mirror. Because of this, I've been hearing a lot of complaints on it, especially when it comes to comparing it to other traits. Its slow startup makes it a poor blink replacement, its range makes it a worse teleport, and you can see and hear it being summoned. Because of this, people often overlook this trait and call it bad when it shouldn't even be compared to those traits in the first place. Of course it's not blink or teleport, it's a unique trait with its own use cases and best uses. For me, I see a lot of potential with this trait and that potential isn't top hard to see. The obvious potential this trait has is in cipher defense situations, where you need to guard and deal with 2 ciphers at once. This is the weakest use case for Wormhole, but it is a use case that can come in handy. That being said, there are 2 big use cases for Wormhole that'll 100% be helpful, transitioning cases and camping. For transitioning, Wormhole can be very helpful in cutting off routes a player might try and use in a kite. Whether it be cutting a person off from entering Big Boat or appearing in God Kite, these are situations where I can truly see Wormhole shining. It can also be used as a mini blink in some cases or a makeshift teleport in others. However, the biggest use case for Wormhole I can see players using it for is camping-based situations. What do I mean by this? One of the biggest problems with camping in this current day meta is the fact that, if the team finds it worth it, they can sell their teammate to the hunter to guarantee a tie or even a win if they play their cards right. Hunters who camp might be forced to stay planted next to the chaired survivor and either leave once you're sure they can't rescue or risk it. With Wormhole, you can Wormhole to the closest survivor to the chair and harass them, drastically slowing down cipher progress. Since the doorway stays up for 30 seconds, you can very much deal with another survivor while getting back to the chair. This forces the survivor you teleport to either waste an item or tank damage and force the team to scramble to save the shared survivor. There are so many use cases to Wormhole and there's so much potential this trait has that it's a shame the community is so divided on the trait. I won't convince you to love it or sing its praise. However, if it ever comes to the game, just give it a chance in a real match and, if it does suck to you, that's fine. Personally, I'm really looking forward to trying this in-game and I do hope Nettys doesn't scrap it like every over trait. Alright, now for the main event, the topic you've all been waiting for, my first impressions on Ivy. Ivy is a very fascinating case to me because she's the first hunter in a while who seems to have a kit that's a bit more complex than the other hunters. There are so many layers and so many things about Ivy's kit, so let's talk about them all before I give my first impressions. Ivy's passive is called Ancient Visage. It's a very scary passive that gives 4 corruption per second whenever you look at Ivy. If your corruption reaches 100%, you will lose control of your character for 3 seconds. If you are in Ivy's terror radius, you will move towards Ivy for those 3 seconds. The only way to remove corruption is to escape the terror radius. When outside the terror radius for 3 seconds, you will lose 10 corruption per second. Lastly, you will gain corruption 0.7 times faster if within 20 meters of a shared survivor. This might seem like a buff, but given it's 0.7x and not 1.5x, they probably meant it's nerfed for anti-cam. Next is Phantasm, which obscure the survivor's vision if Ivy or Yith are close by. Speaking of Yith, they can be separated from Ivy and you can control Yith. Interesting to note that if you're in an action or moving as Ivy when you swap to Yith, Ivy will continue moving or continue her action. When controlling Yith, your terror radius is 50% smaller than Ivy's and the heartbeat will not appear. Yith can travel through pallets and windows without interacting with them, but cannot interact or attack. You can recall Yith back to Ivy by using her main ability. Revelation is up next. This ability causes Ivy or Yith to scream. If a survivor is looking at you within 15 meters during a time, they will instantly gain 40 corruption. If Yith infected a survivor, you can select a location to scream at. Speaking of Yith controlling, Yith can choose to infect one survivor. When they do so, they will latch onto that survivor and stay onto that survivor. Each infection has a cooldown of 40 seconds, however it resets if you down an infected survivor. When latched to a survivor, that survivor is marked and all quick messages any highlighted objects will be revealed to you as well. The survivor's camera direction is also revealed via an arrow and you can tell if a survivor faces you when the arrow is red. Latching onto a survivor will also cause a corrupted abstraction, or disc, to appear. Discs cannot be destroyed for 40 seconds after they were created. You still following me? Great. Now it's time to talk about these fucking things. As explained, discs are created when you infect a survivor and they appear on top of the survivor. While on the field, these discs have 2 purposes to help you in the match. The first purpose is a form of corruption generation. The disc will create a 10-meter radius around the disc itself, which will generate 9 corruption per second anytime a survivor is inside that range. The second purpose to this disc is to allow Ivy to teleport to these discs. Presence 0 BTW. Ivy has no range limit to teleports with these discs, however the disc used will be put on a 45-second teleport cooldown. You can only have 6 discs at a time, any more will cause the earliest disc to be destroyed, and the discs will stay in the match for a 3 maximum of 150 seconds if not broken. And that covers everything she gets at Presence 0, don't worry the rest of the tiers won't take long. At Presence 1, Yith's possession cooldown is reduced from 40 seconds to 30 seconds. Presence 2 causes any discs you teleport to emit an Ancient Visage, giving 40 corruption to any survivor inside the radius. One final thing to note before we finish talking about Ivy is the fact that Ivy can use her scream while picking up survivors. This makes it so Ivy can cancel certain survivor actions, but it also serves as protection against certain harassers, such as forward or batter. And that covers everything about Ivy and her kit. Did I remember to save this section? Good, I'm not writing that shit again. Now you understand why I said that this hunter is a bit more complex than other hunters. There is just so many things in this hunter's kit and so many mechanics to her that I'm sure it'll be hard for novice hunter players to get a grasp of. However, despite how hard she looks, I do think getting the basics to her will be a lot easier than Dream Witch or Mad Eyes while also being a very strong hunter. There's not enough for us to go off of other than test server footage and the gameplay trailer they gave her. However, I still believe she will be an extremely strong character because she is a very versatile hunter. For starters, Yith has a giga movement speed compared to Ivy, so he can be used to scout out and find your first chase. This makes certain survivors such as decoders much harder to play as because being spotted by Yith is almost guaranteed. This also helps initiate the first chase, since she can teleport onto the disc that she creates from infecting you. Speaking of discs, these things can give Ivy the potential to having a very strong map presence because she can teleport across the map with no issues if you're able to get a few useful tablets placed down. Ivy's passive also strips the survivors of a very important asset when kiting any hunter, being able to track the hunter, which can cause them to mess up or underestimate just how close or far you are. If they do look at you, they will feed into their stun, which is incredibly useful in tight kiting situations. The Scream is an incredible tool for racking up corruption, but its ability to be used while picking survivors up makes it an excellent anti-harass tool. Forwards, Wildling, Batter, and many other harassers need to be careful whenever facing her because they can't rescue the same way they could with other characters. You need to be smart about how you harass and how you rescue. Another giant boon Ivy has is being able to gather information from the team. Quick messages are shown off when infecting someone, meaning you have a read on all cipher progress alongside all the survivors' positions on the map if you have map pings turned on. Not only they, but any highlighted survivor in the match will also be shown off to you. This means if you infect a survivor who is on chair, you can see every survivor on the map and see who is coming to rescue or not. Infecting survivors on chair also causes a disc to appear, meaning you are an effective camper, being able to return at any time while still having vision on the team. You are in constant advantage when you perform well as Ivy, which is something I cannot say for the rest of the cast. While it is too soon to say whether Ivy is meta or not, I think she is a very promising hunter with potential to ascend to the top similar to opera singer. Well, that about wraps up all my thoughts on Ivy and finally caps all of my thoughts on what's to come in Season 31. While the balance changes kinda soured my thoughts on this update, I think all of these changes and new stuff really makes this update worth it. Even the essence is one of the best we have to date, although I'll admit it's because Embalmer is actually wearing his mask for once in an A-tier skin. By the time this video releases, the final push would have already came to the game and all of the balance changes would definitely come as well. I will be making an actual video soon. Sorry it's been a lot of Brewing Thoughts videos, there's just been so much on my mind. Until then, though, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you all next time.